This is a preview of things to come in this video series. Please stay tuned because this scene's only going to get better as the series continues. Okay, Twinmotion video number 6. Pretty excited about this particular video here because we're going to get into some of these materials and start really dialing these out. So just going to start with some of the basic ones, and that is, I know I want this siding material to look really spectacular. I also don't want it to look quite so red, and I mean it's going to be a very important part of this scene. So let's just take a look at what this material is comprised of. Now, I've already done some work tweaking on this a little bit before the end of that last video, just to kind of get a feel for the Twinmotion surroundings to make a better video for everybody. So first up, we're just going to look in the texture more category. We're going to see if we hover over this, we're going to see the pathing of that particular siding texture. That siding texture will probably remain. Actually, you know what? Because I want to tint, I want to see if Twinmotion can deal with one of my custom material files that are built for tinting. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to hit open. And what that will do is it will take me to the location of this particular map. And I use the resource collector tool to populate all my maps within my Twinmotion dated folder here. So it's going to show me that log siding texture. But in fact, I actually have in my huge materials collection a siding material that is built specifically for blending. And so we're going to try that out real quick. So you see what I did here? I took different color channels, if you will, just the gradation in this material. I grabbed them individually and I set them to a green, orange, brown. And that's something that I do commonly within other softwares such as Chief Architect that have a blend with material option. And the reason I want to check it out here is we want to see what Twinmotion can do as far as blending is concerned. And can we kind of pull out, make that green and that orange become a variation of the grade of color that we're going to utilize here. And what I can tell you is Twinmotion's actually got some kind of advanced algorithm going on here, because it's not just layering this color on top. It's doing something a little bit better than that, which is good news. On the one hand, I'm not going to be able to use this texture because it's got that green in it, and that green's not going to be transformed the way I would want it to be. So that's a nice little test of Twinmotion's blending features. So let me just press OK, and let's hit that more icon again, and I'm going to go back to this and open this up. So back in the root folder, I have a material that does not have all those different colors, but we do have some nice variation in this texture. And so I'll go back one. Actually, before I go back one level, and this is a really important part of all these scenes that you're putting together, is part of what makes Twinmotion look good. How you make a Twinmotion scene look good is by adding a lot of variables, if you will, to these repeating textures. And the way you can do that is we've got a built-in Grunge Mat Mask. And that Grunge Mask, if you can see here, as I take that slider up and down, it's just producing some grunge, some dirt, if you will. So important to utilize this. You know, pick your places. You don't want to overutilize it, but this will definitely help and add to the realism effect, because of the nature of this rendering engine, you're going to have difficulty making a realistic scene without dirtying it up, muddying it up a little bit. So there we go. Just put a little bit of grunge on that. I'm going to go back a level. If anybody that's watching these tutorials have seen other tutorials, I have not. If you know how to go back a level without me having to mouse over and click back a level, that would be a great time saver to know about. So please leave comments. So next part of this is I have a reflection map, so I'm going to hit this more icon, and if I click on this, it looks like I've already got that reflection map in there, but let's just click open anyways. Now, something I noticed in playing around with this, if I just hit open, it's going to take me back to the navigation path that the root of this file was in. If I instead hit clear and then, well, look what happens when I hit clear. It all of a sudden becomes some kind of default reflection map. Let me hit clear again. There we go. Now I've got it to empty. When I have it to empty and I click open, now it's not taking me back to that root file of where this model lives. It's taking me to the last place that I looked up a material, which is what I want. So if someone knows a shortcut to doing that whole process over again, I might just write a macro for it. But in the meantime, that's a really important thing if you've got files and material files in multiple different locations. So we're going to try a couple different roughness maps. One, I'm going to try this guy right here. He's a little bit more of a heavy contrast reflection map. And let's just, oh, I messed with the scale and I did not mean to. Let's take that back, Control Z. Pumping the reflection up. It's a pretty predictable result that seems to be okay. Let's just take a look. If we pump this up a little higher and we're getting up in past 50%, let's hit more again. And I'm just going to hit open because I want to go to that same folder, and I'm going to use something that's got a little less contrast and see what it does. Honestly, it didn't do much. Let's go one level back down and even get a little bit lighter. And at this lighter, does it give us any additional control? Does it do anything for us in particular? No, not really. You're going to have to kind of play with it to find your best suit. And also, we're kind of looking at direct sunlight. Let's take a look over here. This is probably a better place to kind of test these materials. Yeah, we're getting some good results on this low contrast reflection map. Again, let's go back to that high contrast reflection map, and you can see here, I feel like because the high level of reflection map, that we've got such contrast, it doesn't give me as much finite control. So I'm actually going to go back and get to that lower level and stick with that. Here we go, that guy right there. And let's take him up a few notches, and I feel like this is going to be a satisfactory result. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's looking pretty good. Okay. Now, moving on, let's see, weather on, yes, let's hit this additional settings. Yes, I do have a bump map already applied to this material. You would hit the more and then, hit that material location again. This is located in my maps. If I hit it clear a couple times, I'm just going to take this back down and open this guy up. And I just want to ensure that I'm on the right map, and I am. There we go. The last part of this is I actually have some nails in here, and so I've already applied this. I've turned my metallicness up all the way. Let's see if we can get in tight enough to actually see anything here. And let me just get to my settings tab, and I'm going to switch some lighting around. Let's get this daytime so that we populate it right on our scene here. Oh, we're going to need our north offset. Here we go. So I do have a metal map on this. Let's again just take a look at it, double check it. Reflection, I have to hit settings to get to metallicness, hit the more, and let's just clear this guy. Clear him again, and open up. Okay, so this is my metal map. And it's honestly not the best metal map. Oh, you can kind of see it right there. Those are supposed to be nails. I didn't spend a ton of time on that, but you can see that we're getting some great results from the reflection map. So all in all, that looks pretty good. I want to do something in particular, and that is that I'm going to put a little bit additional grunge on this. Or I know that I'm going to touch up this particular wall a little bit down the road. So I want to actually right click and then select this wall, and I want to find this in my scene graph. And it's called wall 34. And I got a couple of additional tricks here. I'm going to go to my scene graph. It's set as the active container already. I'm going to make a new container. It's going to be called walls. There we go. And now if I go up and just search walls, wall. Let's search wall. There we go. We're getting all these walls. I can drop down, shift select, grab this, and you need to be able to see this icon that's on my mouse right now, that wall 9. If you don't see that icon, you didn't properly grab these, and I'm dragging it into my walls. There we go. So now if I click on walls and I delete this checkbox, all those walls now live in my walls container. And if I want to go back up to my scene graph, I can collapse hierarchy and then sort alphabetically, and we will see, we won't see if we uncheck the eyeball check mark. There we go. We've got walls. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an active container to walls, and then I'm going to go search a stain. Oh, and we're not going to find it in materials. Let's get to library level and search stain. So there we go. I got a couple different stains here. Let's just grab this guy. I'm going to throw it right there. And look, he's bound to these walls. That's great. He's in the walls category. I know where to find him. And that way, if I want to, I can actually right click on this and sort by category. And what it's going to do is it's going to differentiate those decals for me. And I'll be able to find that stain very easily. And since I've got that stain, it's a little heavy. We're going to take the opacity down a few levels. There we go. Size, sure, let's make it a little bit bigger. That's fine. And I like that. That's looking pretty good. Sure. Okay, let's get into the deck, and maybe we'll use some of Twinmotion's built-in wood materials. This is a really quick and easy way of doing things. It's just a drag and drop. Let's get into our materials, our wood category. And I notice, a lot of these woods are, they're slatted, or they're like a wood floor. You kind of get down to the bottom here. So definitely important that you build out your user library so that you have a more cohesive collection, because I would separate my flooring from like a decking materials here. So let's drop this in and take a look, and it looks like it's oriented incorrectly. I need to select this to be able to rotate about it. There we go. When I select one of these items, I can rotate about that item. It's a nice little trick. So there's our material. Let's just take our eyedropper, grab that material, and let's pump this scale up. And another thing we're going to do is, let's see, in the more we have our rotation. Look at that. Let's rotate at 90, and that's looking much, much better. Let's go back a level and check our scale out. I want to get something, well, it's kind of a feeling out process. You're just going to find a level that just makes sense for you. And there you go. Now, if I wanted to change that material for just this decking right here, there's a process for this. And let's see, because, well, this is a hierarchy, stairs section. Yeah. So this little icon right here, replace material. I'm not exactly sure the full process. I think because if I dragged ash onto here, look what happens. It changes all the decking. But if I just wanted to change this material, say to this plywood, which would be an odd choice, I think I get to click on the down arrow here, apply to object, or let's try replace material. Nope, still didn't work. Let's try apply to object. There it goes. And now I can place an object that doesn't globally change all other objects with the same UV ID. If you're unfamiliar with Twinmotion's various libraries. There's a lot to look at here. Some fantastic stuff. You can obviously just kind of drag and drop and play with things as you please. If you find a texture that has like the kind of right gradation that you want, but isn't the right color, let's get some context for that. Look at this guy right here. That's a fantastic texture for a sidewalk, and I'll show you why. All we're going to do is change the color of this guy, and let's move our color picker so we can see. That looks like about a lamp black sidewalk. Pretty standard looking. Next, I'm going to hit the more in the scale tab, and I can actually change the scale on an axis. This is how you get to it right here. So the x-axis, in this particular scene, this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis. So excuse me. So as I increase that, look, we're kind of getting like a sidewalk relief joints there. Look at that. That's looking really sharp. So next thing I want to do is I want to select this. It's going to tell me that this is a terrain item. I'm actually going to rename it. And this is important moving forward as this scene gets really, really large and complex. We need to know that this is sidewalk right. And then what I'm going to do is in search, I'm just going to type in scene. It's going to give me my scene graph. Let's set this as our active container. Let's do a new container, and we're going to call, and then I got to click X and call that new container sidewalks. How about that? And then let's just search sidewalks. This is a very quick way to organize a very complex scene. So there we go. We got sidewalks. Let's set this as our active container, and I'm going to go new container sidewalk. I'm actually going to do, let's see, oops, X this out. Sidewalk right, but this is just going to be the folder. Let's see, assets. How about that? So I'm going to take this guy, drag him in here, and the next part of this is I'm just going to drop a couple decals in here. Let's find stains, and we need to get back into the library. I wish this was always a global search, but it's not. Stains, there we go, something like that. And I'm going to change. This is a very valuable tool here. Again, let's just hit 1 as our offset. It's going to bind a little bit better to that sidewalk there, that path. In fact, we might even lift our whole sidewalk. I'm going to right click, hit our whole sidewalk. If I change statistics to transform and hit this right caret, I'm going to see this is our scale, this is our position. In our position in meters, I'm going to move this up. Oh, let's just call it 0.2. Oh, that's way too much. Let's go 0.02. That's in meters for some reason. Don't know why. The next part of this is, let's just look at our stains again. Actually, let's look at our sidewalk. Sidewalks. And in our sidewalks asset, sidewalk right, here's our stain within that folder. Actually, it should have been within this folder right here. We're going to lift this guy up a little bit. Alternatively, I could delete him and start over, which I might just do. But that looks pretty good. So there we go. I've got a stain. I want to like decrease the opacity, and we're just getting a little bit of variation here, just in the main part of our scene. The next thing is, and actually while I have that stain, this is going to be, let's just rename this sidewalk stain. This is going to let us locate this sidewalk right stain. So at any time during this whole process, we'll be able to just search and find some of these assets that will be difficult to find as we layer on 5 billion things. So let's take a look at this material again. I'm going to pump up just our reflection just a little bit. I'm also going to darken this guy just a little bit. And then the last part of it, I'm gonna hit this more and pump this grunge up some more. I like it. There we go. That's starting to look like a sidewalk, right? So of course, since we've got this open, I could just come over and drag this over to the other side, and look at that. It just continues on. And again, just to keep this guy organized, we're gonna rename this real quick. I know it's a tedious process, but let's go sidewalk left. And make sure that this lives in the sidewalks folder, and there we go. Click that X and carry on. Okay, let's take a look at this road, and let's maybe even create an asset, and that's going to be the tail end of this video before we jump forward a little bit and review some of the advanced things I'm going to do retroactively. So last part of this, back into, I'm going to get out of concrete, we're going to get into ground and get into our man-made grounds, and let's preview some of these various asphalts. Concrete road, asphalt. I like that one, I like that one. That one's a little, that's pretty good. And part of testing these surfaces out is, let's take a look at what happens when we introduce some weather. So again, let's just preview all of these. Let's drag them in. And as you can see, there's some kind of global change happening. You notice that the wet marks just live in the same place. So the only way we really change any of these wet marks are if we introduce a stain. Is what I noticed. So let me just grab one of these big guys. We're going to scale one up pretty far. And let's just see what happens with that. Let's increase our size. Let's decrease our opacity. Actually doesn't seem to be affecting the wet marks at all, is it? Let's delete it and see what happens. And let's reinstate it. It does seem to play pretty nicely with the water. It does definitely add a little bit of depth, so that's good. That's a good marker. I like it. So again, rename it. Oh, I hit some kind of quick key. Interesting. Let's see. This is road stain. Let's see, what did I hit? Oh, I hit O. There we go. We get some orthographic views in O, and it brings us back. Very cool. Good to know. In case you're watching the video. Okay, I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna hit this guy. He's already called road. That's fantastic. So I want to hit my scene graph again and get our new container and hit our X. Type out roads if we didn't already. Type our search, and there we go. Grab this, grab that. Let's throw the road damage in there. Seems that we did already have a category called roadways. That's fine. And the last part of this, let's get back up to that scene graph, and I'm gonna, just to kind of start fresh, collapse, sort alphabetically. Good process to keep doing. So let's hit our down caret, and we've got roadways, and we should have roads, and we've got our main road. All right, and we've got our various stains. I'm going to make sure that this is set as the active container as I throw another stain on here. But in fact, what we're going to do is see if we can't change this stain to something else. So right click to exit placing that stain, and then right here I noticed we've got a texture designation. Very cool. Which means that I can replace this texture. So I happen to have some cool things I could create textures from. And I've got a grunge folder, and I've got this guy right here. He's called Crack. Let's bring Mr. Crack, if I can. Huh. Not letting me. My Windows Explorer is crashing. Okay. Let's open this with Adobe Photoshop. And there we go. It's a very pretty looking texture. I obviously got it from this Copyright True Mitra. We'll give you credits there. We're going to do a little spot healing. I'm going to get rid of this black over here with the spot healing brush in Photoshop. If you're not familiar with Photoshop, plenty of tutorials on the web. Just a fantastic tool. So I got rid of that black spot up there, got rid of that little tag at the bottom here. And I'm going to just unlock this layer and duplicate them over and then turn this guy back off. And the next part of this is I'm going to select a color range. What I want to do is I want to create an alpha transparency. So I'm going to select just the white in this map, and then I'm going to delete everything else. And what that's going to leave me with is just that crack, which is exactly what I want. Now, before I carry on, I want to do a couple other things. I'm going to go back to my base layer, Control J it, make a copy here, double click, and I'm going to name this my normal map, or just normal. This is going to be diffuse. This is going to be alpha. And we might create a roughness map or something else, but let's just uncheck these two. I'm going to select this layer, and in my filters under 3D, I'm going to generate a normal map. And for the sake of this video, we're just going to say yes. In fact, actually, that looks pretty good. So there we go. Normal map, alpha map, diffuse map. And we'll grab all these guys, right click, quick export as PNG. And under our deal here, we're going to make a new one. And we're just going to call it crack number 2. Oops, number 2. There we go. Open this bad boy up, select the folder, and it will export all 3 of those maps. I'm only going to use one of these maps for the purpose of Twinmotion, because I think that it only accepts, it does not accept any kind of bump map or anything. So it's only going to accept my texture map, which is fine. Let's clear this, go open, and let's go locate in my materials, in our grunge folder, that crack number 2. And here's our alpha. And look at that. Very cool. So let's hit our number 6 for, oh, we don't get to scale from there. We have to scale from here. That's correct. So look at that. Cool. And we'll turn the opacity down. And all in all, actually maybe we'll turn it up just a little bit. I want to see why that's not just a solid black crack line. It should be, but it's not seeming to come in that way. And at this scale, it seems like it's a pretty good size. We could thicken it up. I could go back into this alpha channel, go to filter, other, and let's put a minimum filter on it. And let's make it just 1 pixel. I should have, let's go back a level. Actually, let's do that again. We're going to Control J. Alpha 2. Put that same filter on it, minimum. Thickens it up just a little bit. Maybe it's even a little less. Something like that. And we can just export alpha 2. Same folder. Get back to Twinmotion. Open this guy up. And let's get alpha 2 here. And let's see what he does. He doesn't do a whole lot, but that's okay. All in all, I like the function of that. So next part of this, let's hit our number 4 key, and then we can shift and slide this guy over. We're going to create an instance. That's great. And then we can rotate him around and kind of get some funky stuff going on, some cracks in the road. That looks pretty good. Okay, just wanted to mention this is kind of a good stopping point and a promotion for the next video where we do some decal hacking, if you will, where we take decals that are built into the system and we apply different textures just like the one we did with the crack in the roadway. I'll show you how to do these awesome little street numbers here. Those guys right there, and you know, being able to put some grunge on top of those, and then also just bringing in some symbols that are from like 3D Warehouse and decaling them up and making them look a little bit more realistic in Twinmotion. So stay tuned for the next video. It should be a fun one. And as always, please click subscribe.